Hi people, welcome to our video. We're going to talk about our academic research. We're studying international business and we're going to present our investigation about the agreement between Colombia and UK. To get started, our general objective will be review the free trade agreement between these two countries as international activities over time and the various business opportunities that have emerged throughout history. Specifically, we wanted to find out where will be the most common and most commercialized products exportations between Colombia and UK and well, vice versa. For our objective, for to analyze the impact of the Colombia UK FTA on key economic sectors since inception in 2009. You can see on this table, we're gonna give about some interesting values of importations from UK to Colombia. First of all, we have the liquor that it's having a big growth between 2020 and 2023. We have colon that it's having a little decrease regarding some context that we're gonna live about in our country. Finally, we have Gulf race and malt extract that both of them have been having a general decrease as well regarding our interest has changed along the time about commercializing with UK. Now about in the other hand, we have what we export from Colombia to UK. What are these products? We have bananas that are have been always having almost the same amount of it. We can say that it's stable among time. We have as well coffee, cut flowers, and finally palm oil. That it was in the past most likely one of our greatest markets there, but now it's not even a shadow that it was there back on 2009. Now, as you can see in our graphic for the trade balance between the two countries, we can see that on 2010 and on 2015, UK has actually a negative result. In the meantime, that Colombia has a surplus of super rapid. Now, something happened between 2015 and 2020 that has changed this fact and have reversed it. This we're gonna deepen in future reviews. However, our investigation has shown that Brexit had a lot to do with it, increasing their market, and of course, they will be decreasing the imports they will be making them more national about their trades in international businesses. In general, we know that between 2009 and 2023, Colombia maintained traditional exports to the United Kingdom, such as coffee, bananas, and flowers, while palm oil experienced a sustained decline. Although Colombia initially enjoyed a trade surplus, since 2020, the balance has favored the UK. Driven by its diversification and higher value exports, this highlights the need of Colombia to boost diversification and increase the added value for its products to remain competitive. Now, if we can look at our next table, we see that the foreign direct investment from UK and other countries are not the same. It's having changing quite a lot. Directly about Colombia or England, basically, investing in our country, we can see that has been, even though it was very variable, it was always there. So we can suggest it has been maintained through history. Finally, we have also that from UK, only England and Scotland, as you can see in the graphics, has been invented into us. We have that between 2018, 2019, and 2020. It was the greatest amount of direct investment that we have from them. However, they will be the only two countries that has investment directly on Colombia. We have now some values and percentages directly from the DANE, our institution of statistics, that it will be showing a little bit more about the variation between this direct investment. We also wanted to finalize to present the data allows to understand that who is really investing in Colombia from the UK that we were able to see was only England and in Scotland. Finally, we have that which economic sectors are being highly impacted and improved by the FTA's implementation, as agricultural sector and other of the same amount of well. Finally, we have how stable are these values of commerce and how these are an openness for various companies as business opportunity. We can see that we can approach to all of this data so we can go in effort to prove a future markets, and we can then have a most attractive offer to the UK so they can invest again on us, and that will be more or less what we went through on the first objective.
Now we're gonna talk about the second objective, assess the socioeconomic implications of the agreement of bilateral growth and critical milestones regarding both countries within their respective economic and geopolitical contexts. This objective is about history of the timeline of the country, in this case, United Kingdom. We start with a signing of the instrument preceding the trade framework between Colombia and United Kingdom. Is together with Ecuador is like a agreement with two parts from South America and one part from Europe, United Kingdom and Ecuador. We have the thing of COVID. It was a pandemic global, and this impact in the trade of the all countries in the world. But in UK have a big impact too. We have the approval by the Colombia Congress on the UK Colombia Trade Continuity Agreement was in 2020. And then we have the decree 494 implement made that made the implementation of market access commitments under the continued agreement. Then we have the entry in the force of the UK and Colombia trade agreement in the year 2022. Then we have the between the year 2023 and 2025, the post-pandemic era recovery the economy, recover the level of life of the people of Colombia and United Kingdom. And then we have Colombia's initiative to renegotiate the bilateral investment treaty, because we have a post-pandemic and post-Brexit era. Yes, Brexit was the exit of United Kingdom from the European Union in the year 2019, when the United Kingdom decided to leave the European Union. The tight relationship that Colombia maintained with the British market under the European Union placed it in a state of legal and commercial uncertainty. We can look at this graphic, national production. The national production had a low production in the year 2019, but in the year 2022 have a positive growth because the Brexit had impact in the economy of the United Kingdom, a positive impact. And so the unemployment rate is similar, same to the national production, because in the year 2019 have a negative growth, but in the year 2024 have a positive growth. So less unemployment than of the Brexit. The COVID pandemic was important in the global economy and important in the economy of the United Kingdom. Have impacts on the economy. Post-pandemic was important with the legislative approval and domestic implementation of the trade agreement. When this entering in the force have a very well impacted, because benefit with preferential tariff and clarified rules on the region to Colombia and the United Kingdom.
Now I'm going to talk about our third specific objective is propose strategic policy recommendation to enhance the long-term benefits, looking for superior economic integration. Okay, in this objective, I'm going to talk about our conclusion or recommendation for FTA Colombia between Colombia and United Kingdom. The first recommendation is the logistical modernization and trade facilitation. In this recommendation, it's important. First, high logistical and administrative costs increase export price by 10 and 15% in World Bank or OECD. The second important aspect, is despite progress with BUSE, uses persist in certification of origin and data interoperability. And finally, in this recommendation is the UK sees digital and efficient trade agreements post-Brexit and opportunities for cooperation. Now continue, the first recommendation is implementation and KPIs. Implementation, because Jan since 2022, certificate of origin for the UK is electronic. And KPIs have three steps. The first step is 50% faster certificate issuance, and the second step is 80% of shipments by electronic window, and finally 20% shorter export time. Okay, continue. The second recommendation is promotion of digitalization service trade. It's important because the global trade is shifting toward the digital and knowledge-based service, and key growth sectors, telemedicine, online education, fintech, and Colombia emerging digital ecosystem, how like software, education tech, fintech, and UK mature digital economy, advanced regulation, and high demand for innovation. This proposal is for the goal strengthens bilateral trade in digital service, and key action is first, open sectoral sector for cross-border service and mutual recognition of professional qualification. Second is create a data protection interoperability frameworks aligned with UK GDPR. And finally, establish bilateral regulatory sandboxes in fintech and telemedicine to foster innovation. Your implementation and KPIs is first, negotiate limited mobility agreement for professionals. Second, launch binational sandboxes, Colombia Superintendence of Finance and UK FTA. And finally, develop a technical cooperation program on cybersecurity and data governance. And KPIs, two steps. The first is more 30% growth in Colombian service export in 3 years. And second, less 21st in bilateral sandboxes for 1 year. And your impact is promotes knowledge-based diversification of sport. Second, increase value innovation capacity, strangers technology cooperation and digital trust. And finally, builds balance and sustainable economy partnership between Colombia and the UK. Okay, continue. Our third recommendation is create a bilateral regulatory convergence framework. For this recommendation is harmonized in terms of health standards, requirements, certificates, and tariff barriers. Your implementation is negotiation, and committees can be formed for the implementation of agreement between both parties. Our fourth recommendation is renewing British investor confidence with warranties. This recommendation is because for promote dispute resolution through regional consortium, arbitration centers, and your implementation is technical group to draft proposal for modernization of investment chapter, includes academic and private sector. And finally, our plan includes integration strategies. The first is a public and private program for diversification and product linkage. And this is a rural satellites in Colombia promoting communication and supply chain, catapult satellites, bilateral academic agreement, how academic agreement for the validation of degrees and student mobility, and today projects with student mobility between Latin America and the UK initiative. And finally, our group proposed this question is how this project help integration. And for conclusion, the first is convergence of public and private interests. The second is creation of integrated transnational chains. The third is mobility of knowledge and people. And finally, financial and cohesion instruments. Thanks.